have today a lot of names because last Thursday I forgot to read the names. I will be for רפואת שלמה ובליאורה בת אללה, and it will be לרפואת my good friend ארז בן שרה Mizrachi. Had an open heart surgery in Israel as we speak today. Still sleeping until the morning. בעזרת השם will be successful. להצלחת אלכסנדר שמעון בן אברהם, להצלחת אביגיל ואדל, to get custody on the child, לרפואת שמואל בן תמניע, להצלחת הזיווג והחתונה אליהו קלמן בן אברהם ותהילה ברכה בת ציפורה חנה, לרפואת היילי בת דניאל, להבדיל לעילוי נשמת ציפורה חיה בת משה נחום, and טובה בת יעקב, and משה נחום בן ברוך, לעילוי נשמת איתיאל אוקיפ בן חביבה, and זיווג הגון במהרה לנסיה ולרחל אוקיפ, לעילוי נשמת רחל בת יפה, לחזרה בתשובה במהרה של עמי יעקב בן מיכאל אלכסנדר. Also, yeah, I think I cover everyone. Baruch Hashem. Tov. Next Monday, there's not going to be a lecture. I'm going to LA on Thursday, and I'll be back. The only flight I could find was arriving here Monday late at night. If you would like, we can do it next Wednesday. Is it good to do it instead of Monday? Or nobody will show up? Who will show up next week on Wednesday? Okay, Bezrat Hashem. So we on in 9 days from now. Instead of, remember, make yourself a mark in your routine that instead of Monday will be on Wednesday. In general, you should go always on my event calendar on my website, and it shows you if the lecture is on and off or not. Sometimes with iPhones, they have problems. There's a bug in the iPhone. For whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't show. Can you check now if it shows? You don't have? Because it's very interesting. It didn't show today, right? Some kind of a bug with iPhone, the iPhone app. Huh? You don't have iPhone? By Android, it was my website guy tried to do some resets today. Hopefully, it will solve the problem. So, as you all know, we are supposedly after the round of fire with the bloodthirsty Hamas and other Arabs that lives in Israel. If you follow my lectures, unfortunately I was one of the only ones who never actually lived in illusion when it comes to our relationship with these Ishmaelim in Israel. Because a lot of Israelis are very naive. They thought that there's difference between the Arabs that lives in Israel and to the Arabs that in Hamas. They don't understand. They all have the same religion, same goal, same agenda, and they go to the same mosques and learn the same jihad. What? To kill all Jews. That's what the religion is very good at. That's all they talk about. Itbach el Yahud. For them, it's more important than any other commandments of the Islam, to kill the Jews. They're not hiding it. One good thing about the Arabs, they're not hypocrite. They tell you the truth in your face. But the Israeli Arabs is a big shock, and I tell you why it's a big shock. When you go today to a hospital in Israel, almost 50% of the doctors are Arabs, and the nurses. Israeli Arabs with Israeli ID. Now, in this fight, they check their Facebook pages, how they call to kill Jews. Your life is in their hand. You go in the operation, they put you in anesthesia. In 1 little second, they can do something and kill you. No one will ever know. You know, if a doctor wants to kill his patient, it's not that difficult. You have to go into a surgery with one that have an ideology of a Hamas mass murderer, that all he thinks about is to kill Jews, and he works in Israeli hospitals, and it's not 1 or 2, it's thousands. Do you understand what situation we live in? Same thing, nurses, same thing. Not everyone is like that. Of course, you don't always find everyone is bad. There's always nice people, people who don't want this, people who are happy to live in Israel. Yes. How many, I don't know, but there are. The problem is that you don't know which one is which. That's the problem. What are you going to do? Before you go on a surgery, you will start investigating Ahmad if he's pro-Hamas or not? Didn't you see now that thousands of them were going on the streets of Israel shooting at us with guns? Not just throwing rocks. Throwing rocks is the kids. They were going and shooting at the houses and the cars. They're shooting at people. Actually, they hit few people with bullets. In the cities of Israel, not in the territories of Hamas over there. Behind the border. Inside, imagine here in Queens that they come and shoot at you in the middle of the streets. Now once or twice, hundreds of times. And then what the Israeli police do, they come to all the Jewish people in the city of Lot that have permits to carry guns. The reason they got guns is because they live among them. They know that one day they may need it for self-defense. And they collect all the guns from the Israelis, and they leave the guns by the Arab terrorists who has guns with no permit. So you come to the legal citizen, good people that have no intention to kill anyone, and they got guns for self-defense. You collect all their guns, and you leave all the terrorists of the city of Lod and the drug dealers with their guns. Since when the Israeli police became a cooperative system to these Arabs? Since when? I was wondering what's going on over here. I said, politicians, many of them are lefty traders. We've been talking about them for thousands of times. The Israeli Supreme Court is the biggest enemy of the Jewish nation in the history of the world. The Israeli Supreme Court, never in a history you had a bigger enemy to the Jewish people than the Israeli Supreme Court. I repeat for the third time. Never was and will never be an enemy that caused more damage to the Jewish nation and to the Jewish religion than the Israeli Supreme Court. You should know them. They're all 9 or 12, whatever, serious traders. Every decision they made was against Israel, against the Torah, against religion, always pro-Hamas, always pro-terrorist, always pro-gay parades, always pro-everything Hashem hates. We will talk about them in a minute. So if the Supreme Court cooperate with the Hamas, nothing is new. They've been doing it for 40 years or more. If the reporters on the news will do that, they've been doing it from day one, always. If the social media leaders would do that, they've been doing it forever. But the Israeli police is people like me and you. It's ordinary Israelis. Most Israelis would still prefer right, not left. Why would they help the Arabs to shoot at Jews in the city of Lod? For 2 days I was wondering why. Usually lately, when I have such a question, somehow Hashem answers me. And he answers me clearly and very fast. The next day, I find out that one of my Baalei Tshuva, one of my students, was a policeman in the city of Lod. I say, how did I not remember this? You told me that years ago. And I said to him, you are the one who can tell me what's going on over here. He said, very simple. No one will tell you what I tell you, but I was inside. All these Arabs that live in the city of Lod, they bribe all the police. They give them salaries on the side to look the other way for their drug trafficking. Drug, selling stolen cars, stolen parts, lots of corruption there. They get tons of money to help them out in their criminal activity. So they are buddies. He gets paid from Ahmed and Musa and Mustafa. So now he's afraid to lose his income. If he's going to come to the people that give him money and tell them I was sent to collect your guns, you know what's going to happen. That's it. You no longer get any money, or I'm going to tell your commander that you're eating bribe from us for 10 years. We should sit in jail for 20 years. So he's already in his hand. So Ahmed and Musa and Mustafa in the cities of Israel, they run the show. There's no police, they do whatever they want. That's why they don't pay taxes, they build their houses, they don't need permits, nobody ever come to check, they don't need certificate of occupancy. This is what's happening right now in Israel. We are already lost the country to them. Now we just don't know it yet. But many Israelis just realized it in the last 10 days. Unless we finally will wake up and really do what needs to be done, which something inside me tells me that everyone is cold and sleepy. People already talking about restore the what do you call it? Co-living, living together, huh? Coexisting. Let's restore the coexisting. Coexisting? What are you talking about, coexisting? They tell you in your face, we're going to slaughter all of you soon. Their truth came out. They're not hiding it anymore. Today someone sent me an email. You know how people say, it was an email, it was a WhatsApp message. He said, hundreds of Arabs are demonstrating right now in a city of such and such. They are shouting, we are hurt, we are disturbed, we cannot believe, we are shocked how ungrateful our brothers and sisters can be to the Israeli people and to Israel state. They gave us life, they gave us universities, they pay for us scholarship to go and become doctors. They gave us freedom, they never raped us. We are equal like Israeli citizens. No other country in the Middle East we have freedom like we have in Israel. We can be judges, we can be lawyers, we sit in a government, we get paid for every child we have from the Israeli government. Everyone who will attack us immediately, the Israeli police will attack them severely. How could we have done what we did to the Israelis, betray them and be so ungrateful to them? And then I woke up and realized it was only a dream. That's the message. For a minute I was shocked. I said, maybe there is some hope. Until I got to the last line. And then I woke up and realized it was just a dream. Sad dream. In dreams, things look sometimes better. That's the reality, Rabotai. Yesterday, again, the Israeli Supreme Court striked again. You would think they would have a little shame after 11 days that they were murdering us, maybe to be quiet for a month or two. Guess what? They could now wait a day. One day after the ceasefire, the Israeli court strike again. Until now, every law you make in a Knesset that they don't like, these lefty, liberal, garbage trader judges, that's their right title for them. Every decision they did not like, they cancel. We canceled our rule that you made in a government. I don't get it. Who is the boss? The prime minister, the government, or the judges? Who control Israel? Mafia. They took over Israel. They don't ask you. We will decide the rules here, even though they never got elected. Now they made one step even more further. Now they say that even the solid rules of the Israeli constitutions can be cancelled by them. Constitution. Until now they were cancelling laws that were made a month ago. We don't like it. It's not a fair law. We're canceling the law. Now they can actually rewrite all the rules that have been already for 67 years. Meaning they go one more step to occupy Israel and make it a dictatorship of few liberal, lefty enemies of God, enemies of Judaism, friends of Hamas, friends of everything that Hashem hates. That's the reality in Israel right now. So I have a friend, he's a vice president of the biggest kiruv organization in the world. They have a TV channel. They're very, very massive. Their budget is more than 100 million shekel a year. Serious organization. So he happened to be my Baal Tshuva. My first film, Informatia Elokit, made this guy religious. Today he's controlling such a huge organization worldwide. And we talk every day. Every day we talk about the situation. We have the same ideology, same line. We look at things. Obviously, we follow the Torah, so it's very easy to think alike. And I told him a month or two ago, the only way this dictatorship of these lefty traders will stop, if 1 million religious people would stand by the Supreme Court for a week and block the entire area of Jerusalem with flag, with torches, and scream from morning to night, Shema is in their face. They will get a heart attack because they hate every word of Torah. These judges, Imach Shimam, they're such enemies of the Torah that you would stand next to them and scream, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Hu Elokim. They'll go crazy. There's nothing they can do. 1 million people, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to kill 1 million people on the streets? And we're not going to move until all of you will go to hell. And you'll never come back to this place. And there's other things that can be done, but you cannot say it in front of a camera. You know? And he said to me, no, I definitely agree with you, but who's going to have the courage to lead the revolution? You see, why we got saved in Hanukkah? We were only few hundred faithful religious Jews left. All Jews became lefty and Greeks. They all joined the Greek Empire. They went to stadiums that the Greek made. They left the yeshivot. They became mityavnim. Judah Maccabi, and his brothers screamed, Mi la Hashem elai, who is still faithful to Hashem, join me. How many people came? Few hundred. Who they have to battle? The Greek Empire that occupied the whole world. Every person in the world paid them taxes. They have very strong, massive, organized, brutal, cruel army. They have no mercy on women, children, old people. The torture that they will torture you is beyond words, just like the Iranians today. They had to go and fight this big empire. What were the odds? 0 chance to win. Not 0.1%, 0% chance to win. So why you go to a war that you don't even have a 1% chance to win? The answer is because I'm a believer. And I have a mission in life. What is my mission? To stick to Hashem. What's going to happen beyond that moment? It's not in my hand anymore. Doesn't matter. I'll get killed. I'll get saved. Hashem will interfere and make the war for us. Beautiful. Hashem won't help us. We'll die. But when we come in front of Hashem, no one will ever claim against us. Why did you die? I gave my life to protect your Torah. I gave my life to fight these Greeks that wanted to convert Judaism into the fake religion. They wanted us to follow their fake gods. I don't have to tell you the Greek mythology, no? I'm sure they already forced it in your brain in college. So you know the God of this, the God of that. That's what they wanted us to do, to live Judaism. They say you have to write on the horn of your axe, I have no share in the God of Israel. Once you did that, no one can touch you. You became an official Greek with rights. You had a green card or a Greek card. But that's it, you're one of us. You can run for parliament, you can be in Senate. A lot of the laws and the words in English come from them. Also in the Gemara they use Greek words like apikores. There was one Greek scholar who was anti-principles of Torah. So every time they want to call someone an infidel or a heretic, they use the word apikores. Apikores means someone who contradicts the principle of Judaism. Contradict reward and punishment. We have a lot of speakers today on YouTube that are apikorsim. Don't be impressed by the beard or the black hat that they wear, some of them. They are 100% apikorsim. And apikores, you cannot count him as one of the 10 in a minyan. If you have 9 people, you want to take out the Torah on Shabbat, and the 10th one is one of them, one of those speakers, which I have a list of them, as you probably, most of you already know about it. If you want to include one of them in the 10th, you cannot. You cannot take out the Torah. You cannot say Kaddish. You cannot say Baruch Hu. It's count like you pray by yourself. That's it. Why? Because he's not count as one of the minyan. Just like if a goy would come, even a nice goy, not an anti-Semite one, just a non-Jew would come and he wants to be a part of the minyan. You're not allowed to count him. Nothing personal. He did not join the Jewish nation yet. So you have people that legally consider themselves Jewish, but halachically, according to Jewish halacha, the Torah denounced them and put them in outside isolation, cherem, on a ban, that they cannot be counted as Jews until they will change their view and ideology and behaving. As long as they contradict the Torah, contradict the principles, etc., these people are not a part of the Jewish nation. You should also know, when the Torah says you have to love your fellow neighbor or friend, just like you love yourself, it means what you hate people doing to you, don't do to others. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you have to love your neighbor like you love yourself. Meaning, if Chas v'Shalom, your son died, and you go crazy and you cry, and if your neighbor's son died, God forbid, they don't expect you in Shamayim to cry just as much. They understand it's not your son. Of course, it will break your heart, but it's not the same like your own son left, obviously. And it's perfectly normal. So the Torah did not expect you to suffer in a tragedy of your neighbor or friend, just like you suffer on your own tragedy. So what did the Torah expect? The Torah actually expected you that what you don't want people to do to hurt you or to damage you, don't ever do to others. That's what it means, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Not like some people say, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, like the Americans say. No. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha means you used to love your friend like you love yourself, but you're not anymore. It changed the meaning of the word. You have to say ve'ahavta. It's a command. Just like ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. Not like the Americans say it. The way the Americans say it is totally wrong. They messed up the whole meaning. We have to say ve'ahavta. That's God commanding us to love Him. If you say ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, like they teach here in kindergartens and schools, it changed the meaning of the verse that you must love God from this meaning to you, and you used to love God, meaning now you don't love Him anymore. It becomes a curse. If you don't know how to speak, you mess up the language. You mess up the language, sometimes you chas v'shalom requesting bad things on yourself. You have to know how to speak. You don't know, you learn. Everything in life you learn. So the same thing over here. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You have an obligation to love your Jewish brothers and sisters like you love yourself, meaning don't do to them what you hate people doing to you. But that's only Shomrei Shabbat. Only. Everyone who is not Shomer Shabbat in Shulchan Aruch is not considered a Jew. And you don't have an obligation to love other nations like you love your brothers and sisters. You don't have an obligation to go and hurt them and fight them or disrespect them. You should respect every human being. But you don't have an obligation to love him like your brother, which is perfectly fine. Nobody asked a Chinese guy to love the Arab like he loves his Chinese cousin. It's normal that he would love his own people more than another nation, even among Gentiles. So among Jews, the Torah says you have to love your family, meaning your nation. But only re'acha lamitzvot. It's in the Gemara, clearly. It's halakha also. Someone that is not your colleague in observing the commandments is not considered a part of the Jewish nation. You don't have an obligation to love him. Someone is mechalel Shabbat, if you spoke Lashon Hara about him, you got saved. Because if he was Shomer Shabbat, all your mitzvot will go to him. You got lucky that he's not Shomer Shabbat, at least you kept your own mitzvot. Because mechalel Shabbat is considered a non-Jew. You should know the truth. The truth hurts. Nobody likes to say it, but that's what's written. Where is it written? Not in New York Times. Not in someone's Facebook page. It's written in the official Jewish book of law, in the Jewish constitution, which I happen to be a follower of it. I did not write it. If I was the writer of it, then you can argue with me. How dare you say such thing about my cousin who's not Shomer Shabbat? You can argue. I would have to convince you why I wrote it. But since I'm not the writer, I'm only reading to you what's written. Your argument is not with me. You have a problem? Go to Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and all the Tanaim in the Talmud and ask them based on what they ruled in the Talmud that someone that is not Shomer Shabbat is 100% like a non-Jew. That when the day he dies, you're not allowed to bury him in a Jewish cemetery. That's how bad it is. You have to make a wall between him and the Shomrei Shabbat. And if he was a witness in your wedding, you're not married. You have to get married again. Because if Ahmed was a witness in your ketubah, you understand that you're not married. You need a Jewish witness. And because this guy is not Shomer Shabbat, he cannot be a witness. And hundreds of other things. If we slaughter a cow, $5,000 cow went to the garbage now. It's taref. You're not allowed to eat from it. Even if he used the knife perfectly and smoothen it and check the animal and check the lung, and he used to be religious, so he knows very well how to slaughter Bet Yosef. But now he's Mechalel Shabbat. Mechalel Shabbat shchitato nevela. He slaughtered the cow, it counts like the cow died from lightning. You're allowed to eat a cow, dead body of a cow on the street? To cut it now and make a steak out of it? Not allowed, it's nevela. What does the Torah say to do with a cow like that? Throw it to the dogs. You have to throw it to the dogs. Let the dogs eat it. So therefore, if someone slaughtered, perfect slaughtering, but he himself mechalel Shabbat, this slaughtering is not kosher meat. Nobody is allowed to eat from it. That's the status of a mechalel Shabbat. And don't let anybody fool you. They don't know, they were kidnapped by the Goyim. It's not so simple. You have to know. Today, even today, most of the solid poskim of Gdolei Ador write it in their books. Write it in their own books. Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, the chief rabbi of Israel, gave a whole speech of it on a video. You can hear it. It's online. What's the status of the Mechalelei Shabbat today? No different than 500 years ago. Everybody knows there is a God. Everybody knows that the Jews got Torah. Every Goy knows it. Every Israeli knows it. Everyone knows Shabbat is a special day. They don't know the rules maybe. Maybe they never learned Torah. Maybe they didn't even have bar mitzvah. Yes, but they all see speakers, CDs, articles, shows, movies, even in Hollywood speaks about Haredim and Hasidim. Shows their lifestyle. Everybody knows today there is such a thing, the chosen people. If the Goyim knows it, definitely these Israelis and other Jews knows it. They just don't want to come and learn. They're not interested. So other people who came to learn became Baalei Tshuva. Why you didn't come? You should have done what they did. You did not do. You're responsible for the consequences of your action. I want to tell you something. My doctor told me an interesting story. There is one Jew who married a non-Jewish woman and has 2 kids. These 2 kids, one of them is 5 years old. What are they according to the Torah? These 2 kids, what are they? Non-Jewish. 100, there's no such thing half a Jew. Like some people say, I'm half Jewish. There's no such thing. This expression is an illegal expression. You're either 100% Jewish or 0% Jewish. There's no such thing half Jew. So therefore, if your mother is Jewish, regardless of who your father is, you're always going to be a Jew, 100%, born a Jew with a Jewish soul. You can lose your Jewish identity by your behaving, as I just described, but you're born with a Jewish soul. And if your mother was not Jewish, regardless who your father is, your father could be a Jew, can be Kohen, can be whatever it is, can be a rabbi. If your mother is not Jewish, you are not Jewish, and it doesn't matter who the father is. So it goes after the mother. Mother is Jewish, Hashem puts a Jewish soul in the body. Mother is not Jewish, a non-Jewish soul goes into the body. That's it. If you remember my film, Life After Death, over there I spoke for about 10-15 minutes about people that remember their past life. You have millions of people like this in the world, that even without hypnotizing them, without hypnosis, you don't have to do regression to bring them back in time like with regular people. They remember their past life in details with names,